So the sun's going down on the first full day in Alaska. In the bush, we got weathered into town for 3 or 4 days, and out pops the sun, and what a beautiful day we had. Spent some time on the beach, shot a big old male wolf today, which was a treat, unexpected. It's Alaska, you just never know what's gonna show up. So the method today that we use, we were opening up a new piece of country, kind of scouting it. We went down the beach, and as we would look up into the brush, trying to see an opening, we would walk into there, call a little bit, look for some moose. On one of those excursions in, we'd crossed a trail that was mostly grown over, and Mike looked up and whispered wolf, and that was that. I got one chambered and it didn't move, and was lucky enough that it stood there long enough to eat a bullet. This is a new portion of Alaska for me to hunt. My good friend Mike Peterson told me about this area and his wish to come down in and open it up. He talked about this airstrip that's available. The rivers block it off going back to the north and one farther on to the south, but it's kind of set in the middle of two pretty good sized towns down in the southeast side of Alaska. There's goats that we look at right out of camp. Again, today with the Bluebird Day, we were able to see the surrounding hills. It's a wonderful place to come to. The main base camp is down on the beach. It's in an old growth set of timber. Jana said it's like fairyland down there. We waited for the weather to break, and Alaska Backcountry Outfitters had a flat bottom boat and a jet. We made it up a river far enough to get to the first really big good moose pasture.
The weather's been really rainy and kind of miserable, but it's been fun. Jason didn't let me in on all the good stuff till we got here, so one day I asked if it was how it could be so crappy one minute and so nice the next, and he said, "You haven't seen crappy yet." And then we saw this stuff, and I said, "Well, we've seen the crap," and he said, "Nope, you still haven't seen it." So I'm looking forward for what's to come.
It's interesting to watch Jana. It was wonderful for me to watch Jana come from that hesitation and that not really knowing what she's getting into to thriving in wet weather and cold weather, and with the preparation of Alaska Backcountry Outfitters, the gear was good, the recommendations were good, and having that, the right gear. King's Camo set us up in the right stuff, and you can stay in torrential downpour, you can be in the cold, and you can still be comfortable and functioning. Watching Jana do that, and then one day, it was a couple of days ago, it was just downpouring. She was had a hot cup of cocoa in her hand and turned around and smiled. I could tell she was comfortable, and I seen that transition. That's wonderful to bring somebody out in this and watch that. She's a special kind of tough, though.
So we met a guy named Richard, and he lives here, and we went with him for the day yesterday, and he taught us how to pan for gold. And
he's sure an interesting character, isn't he?
Yeah. We panned for a good portion of the day, and
down on the beach, it was on the edge of a kind of an old tailing pile and a place on the creek there that he knew of. At this, we call it garnet sand. I'm not sure if the color really shows up, but it's got that garnet, that pinkish red color to it, and inside that sand is where you find this really fine gold. I'm having a heck of a time. Richard makes it look easy. He sloshes it around and color starts showing, and I don't know if it's enough to make a ring. I don't even know if it's enough to buy a roll of toilet paper, but it sure is pretty. It's interesting that as many years as I've been in Alaska, I get back here and I dread those rainy days. I dread the time in the tent. And when I get here, I remember it's part of what I love. It's just part of being in Alaska. It's part of being in the Borealis. if it wasn't like that, it just would be different. It's that kind of special moment, or those pieces of time that make a hunt like this a hunt.